Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So welcome to part 17 of my R&B is Dead series. And in this specific episode, I want to switch gears here and just talk about some of the projects that are playing in my iPod and what I'm listening to. Just because I don't want you guys to always think that this is a series where I'm like, I hate everybody, everybody sucks, everybody's terrible, I hate it, I hate the industry, I miss it, I wish it was still 1995. Which I do, but there are some really great projects that come out. And I think the purpose of me continuing to do this series is basically to just bring light to the fact that there are a lot of great acts that are out, but the problem is that the industry has shifted in a way where you don't even know these projects exist. And I think that's what I hate. You know, I miss the days of being able to just turn on the radio and all this great music was, you're just bombarded with great music, and you turn on TV, they don't play videos like that anymore, and all these different videos would be on it. There was just variety and so much to choose from. And so you could enjoy the greatness that was music, and your friends and everybody around you could as well, because everybody was familiar with what was being put out. And so today, there's some great music that comes out, but nobody knows about it because you have to dig deep into the trenches of the internet to find music now. And you know, the labels aren't marketing people anymore, music videos aren't really as necessary to release a project, and there's just so many things that have changed now, so it's harder to enjoy music the way that you could have in the past, because now it's not even a cultural and life experience. It's kind of something you have to go out and force to put with, you know, you have to kind of force it into your daily routine. And I kind of just miss those days. I miss the days when, you know, it was that R&B sound and the sound of many black and soulful artists that were just the sound of what everybody was into. And so we're not in that anymore. That sound is there, but we're not the faces of it. You know, they got a bunch of people who, culture vultures, long story short, and took our sound and they having a good time with our music. And then the element of people not selling, and then because they don't sell, they only get 1 or 2 singles off their project instead of 5 or 6 or 4 like they used to in the past. And then, you know, the money doesn't really go into the tours for some people, and then it works like full circle. So in this specific episode, I want to just talk about what I'm into. And I'll say this, when it comes to music, there's usually 3 things that make me like an artist as far as their album or what they could put out. It's 3 things: the musical stylings and arrangements of their project. You know, what did they do musically? What kind of chord progressions are there? How did they use live instruments on the whole project? Did they use a lot of synth? What was, you know, did they play with different genres? Did they experiment? How different is this project from the last one? Is there growth, or is this just they got a bunch of random producers that everybody else was using and they came out with a project? Another thing is the actual vocals. And for me, vocals come in multiple elements. It's not always just about who can wail and hit the highest note, because after that can be draining sometimes. There's some people who don't know when to, you need variety. Everything can't always be about just super vocals and power vocals, because as much as we love that, you have to know how to balance everything. I think Whitney was always good at that, because one, Whitney knew how to give you just enough. If she wanted to go and sing up to the rafters and stay up there, she could, but she knew how to bring it back down. She could sing in the most beautiful head voice and in the most beautiful, you know, falsetto, but then if she needed the belt from that chest, she could. And so vocals, it's a lot of things. It's that, you know, are you layering your vocals? Are you blending? Because I always said this, and I said this before in another video, it's great when you can blend with your background vocalist, whoever you are. Tony Braxton was always great at doing that. You know, if you listen to a lot of Tony projects, especially on Secrets, it's Tony, Babyface, and Shantae Moore that blend on a lot of those songs, like Find Me a Man and Why Should I Care, and I think Let It Flow. And then on some of her other projects, it's her and Tamar and some of the sisters, but she's really good at blending with the people she sings with. Luther Vandross back in the day was really good at that with Lisa Fisher. Yeah, I mean, they were already in the same group back in the day with Change, but when he went solo and she kind of stuck with him and she would echo him in his songs, they blended very well, and their styles just went together. And his sound, he worked really well with Patti LaBelle too, on like that Burning album, on the My Love Waits for You. What's the song? When You Love Someone, Saving My Love for You, something like that. That's a great track where it's Luther and Patti and a few other people just together. So, and the other thing that makes me really enjoy an artist is just lyrics and the content. What are you singing about? You know, when you have a perfect blend of those 3, that's perfect. I love when somebody has a lot of substance in their album and there's a lot to sing about. Because there's some people who make great music, but I think their substance is just garbage. I think The Dream, probably he comes out with some of my favorite projects, but his content is just straight garbage. It's just straight Negroidian, busted wide open, let me see that, you know, that kind of, I don't want to hear that all the time. I don't want to hear that all the time. But musically, his stuff goes in. Like he borrowed from the School of Prince, and he gets it in. He has a great ear for just, you know, chord progression and combinations and playing stuff in minors and funk and drum kits and all that, but his lyrics are just straight trash. So Anyway, let me get into the point. I'm just ranting here. So, my top 5 projects to come out of 2016, and I try to just talk about projects that everything is not going to be, a lot of these will not be big commercial albums. Most of these people you guys know, but so I'm just going to let you know I bypassed on the Rihannas and the Beyoncés. It's no diss to them, but listen, Beyonce doesn't need my help getting exposure. So we don't have to talk about Lemonade. Rihanna doesn't really need my help either. Y'all aunties everywhere, they play it on the radio all day. So let's get past those two. But my favorite 5 projects, and it's no diss to those two, so y'all don't take it the wrong way. They're both actually really great projects, but they're just not my favorites because I think there's other projects that have come out that are just as good. But anyway, my top 5 projects that have come out in 2016. One is Tweet's project. I really enjoyed what Tweet came out with. I enjoyed Anthony Hamilton's project. I enjoyed the 2088 project, that was that collab between Big Sean and Jhené Aiko. Solange's project is excellent, and there is one that I am skipping, and I can't remember which one it was. Let me just scroll down my list here. Dang, I really forgot. Tweet. Oh, Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book. All right, and I know some of those are not R&B albums, but I'll explain my thoughts later on. So let me just go down the list. I'm going to just start with what I have, and some of these are from 2015. I basically made a list of everything that came out from the 4th quarter of 2015 up until now. So we can actually just start in 2015 and work our way up. So the 2015 projects that really stuck out to me that I think some people kind of slept on, or they didn't get the just due that they should have gotten. I'll start with Tamar Braxton's. I already reviewed her album, but she had a really great project. I think there was a lot of effort that went into the project. If I did have a critique, it was just the vocals. It wasn't that she couldn't sing. The problem was I just think she kept giving the same delivery on a lot of the songs. She loves to do the wailing and this and that and singing way up here, which is fine. But depending on what kind of mood you're in, sometimes you want something that's a little bit it's a little bit more laid back. And she has a dynamic voice where she can do a bit of everything. And there are some songs like that, like Raise the Bar, where she tones it down a bit. But a lot of the songs, it's her just doing these power belts over and over on all the songs. So it kind of killed me a bit. But there's some great tracks. Circles is a great track. Must Be Good to You is a great track. Loving It is a fun track to listen to. The album, it's cohesive. It's a great project. A lot of people slept on it. And I don't know, because she had great promotion. She got a lot of videos and everything. I don't know if it's because she and Janet Jackson came out on the same day and hers was a little overshadowed. But she had a wonderful project, and I think people slept on it. So give her a chance when you can. I think Calling All Lovers was a great album. Speaking of Janet, I still think Unbreakable is probably my favorite album to come out of 2015. And it wasn't just because Janet's one of my favorite artists, but I think it was just a great project. I love that Janet, she experimented with a bunch of different sounds. And I think that album is more so something for her fans. So if you're not a big Janet fan, maybe you might not like the project as much, but if you're somebody who's followed her all the way through, this was like it was like a continuation of the journey she's been on musically. I love that she experimented with the genres. There's like a song on there that's country. There's a song that tackles Brazilian jazz. There's a great house song on there. There's a song that like a pop rock song. There's a little bit of everything on there, and that's what I like about it. And then there's some up-tempos that you can party to, songs like Burn It Up and Damn Baby. But I think my favorite tracks from that album are Night, which is a house song. I love a good house song. Night is a great track. I love the way that Broken Hearts Heal climaxes. It kind of starts off as a real mellow, it's like a tribute song to Michael. And it ends in just a straight up-tempo party, and it has elements and hints of Michael Jackson's Don't Stop Till You Get Enough as far as the bass lines. I think the second half of the song, Black Eagle's a great one. It's just so smooth and just real chill, and I like the message that's behind it. I like Take Me Away, which is more so pop rock, but it's a fun track. If I had a convertible and I had some long dreadlocks, I just ride in the car and the wind blows. And then, what else was there? I like the We Gonna Be Alright. It has like the Sly and the Family Stone vibe to it. She's not whispering. For all you people who always think she whispers, that's a fun track where she's just it's a fun album. So the album has a lot of different, it goes a bunch of different directions, and I think that was a fun project. Teedra Moses, Cognac and Conversations was a great album. Actually, all of her albums are good, but she was very slept on, and I think she slept on because, one, she just never got that major label exposure. When she was on TVT, which was technically her major label, the label folded, and that was when she was, with the complex simplicity. So that was that. But on that project, there's some great tracks like Skin Diver and International Playboy. You guys should definitely check her out. There's an artist named John Givez. I'm not sure. Now his album is also probably my second favorite project to come out of 2015. It's like a combination of hip hop and R&B. It's kind of like he's kind of like a Chance the Rapper, but not as whimsical. And his project, I don't know what the marketing strategy was because I'd never heard of him. I just happened to be on iTunes one day and saw him there, and so I was like, let me check this out. And I checked it out. I was like, oh, I'll buy this. And so there's some really great standout tracks on there, like Sandman. Revolution is my favorite track on that album, and then there's another one, 2004, which is great. And he, he's rapping, he's singing. There's a lot of it's a unique album. I think I would like to see more from him as far as him being able to come out with more albums. People should get into what he has. I think maybe he got overshadowed by Bryson Tiller because his album's called Rebel Soul, and then Bryson Tiller had Trap Soul. I don't know if people thought the word soul they went to Bryson Tiller, Team Bryson, but I don't know. Rebel Soul was a great project, so people should check that out. Tamia had a wonderful album. She doesn't really come out with bad albums either. I like this album a lot more than the Beautiful Surprise album. I think that came out like in 2012 or 2011. But Tamia's album, that was a fun album. I think the standout tracks were like Lipstick and Day One. And Sandwich in the Soda was a good knock. I enjoyed that. I thought it would catch on a bit more on the urban adult contemporary markets, but it didn't. But that was a great track. She always gives a great album and a good show, by the way, too. Jill Scott's album, I'm not going to say was slept on, but I still would recommend it. We're still in 2015, by the way. She had some really great projects. I think it was much better than Music of the Sun, a major step up. Because Jill usually doesn't come out with bad albums, but Music of the Sun I didn't really care for like that. But I think on this album, pretty much every song is a good track. The singles were all excellent, but I also really like Cruisin'. I like the song with the African chant, the Jare me Fasola. I really like that. What else did they have? What did I write down on here? I can't even read my handwriting, so I just leave it alone. But she, great project. So check out Jill's if you get a chance. It's the Woman album. Great project. Moving on, 2015. I think that's most of my... Oh, I skipped Tyrese. Tyrese Black Rose was a great album as well, too. It's a little bit more laid back, lots of ballads and slow jams. But for that to be his last album to close out his legacy, because he said he wants to stop doing music, he had a great album. My favorite track on that album is I Still Do. And I also like the Dumb-ish song with Snoop Dogg and some of the collabs he has, like the one with Tank. So Tyrese has a pretty decent album as well. So let's jump into 2016. So I'm going to start with Anthony Hamilton, What I'm Feeling. I enjoyed this album because one, it's very adult contemporary. And I'm gonna say a lot of these albums that are on this list are very adult contemporary, very more so traditional R&B, not as contemporary R&B or what would be on the radio, but just what I'm into. I like a lot of mid-tempos and slow jams just because I do a lot of driving, and in my car I like stuff to kind of flow. And so I still party and cut a rug on occasion, but a lot of the albums I like, I like music, I like chord progressions and modulations and stuff, and it's hard to get that with what's on the radio. So Anthony Hamilton's project was great. I like the title track, What I'm Feeling. Amen was a great single to release. I like Take Her Home, I Gotta Take You Home. I like that. The I Want You song, the Walk in My Shoes, great project. He's singing about his life, he's singing about, being divorced, and it's a lot of growth. I like this much more than his last project. I really enjoyed the point of it all, but the album that came afterwards I didn't really care for. But this is a great project. BJ the Chicago Kid has an okay album. I think people should check out. I always get him and Ro James. I put them in kind of like the same tier of artists. They're kind of similar. I think one is better creatively and the other is better vocally. But going back to his album, the In My Mind album, my favorite songs, Shine and the, Jeremiah? The Jeremiah, What the World Needs Now. Those are my two favorites off the album. But I like the collabs he's been doing with other people in their projects. He's somebody I think we should look out for in the near future. I think he's going to really come up real soon. Fantasia's album was not a favorite. It's something where I still think people should kind of check it out and kind of you see for yourself. I think what's going on with Fantasia is that she's under new management. I can't think of the company and the guy that she's under, but she's under somebody who's trying to push her and make her more universal. This is when you take the R&B artist and you try to make them more universally appealing to everybody. And I think that's what they did with this project and tried to experiment with the sounds. And I think what people forget is Fantasia's gift is the gift of being able to translate a song into her own. And she does it the best with some really greasy R&B crooning tunes. You know what I mean? Like the Free Yourselves and the Ain't Gonna Beg Yas and the Good Lovin' and the 2 Weeks Notice type of songs. I think Side Effects of You was a better album than her previous album. It was a much better album in my opinion. It was more cohesive and it kind of if they were trying to push her in a contemporary R&B lane, they did a good job of doing that while keeping her true to her original roots. This one, there's still some good songs. I like the When I First Met You or When I Met You song. That's probably my favorite off that project. But there's a lot on there where it's unique. There's still some great tracks, and vocally it's still an excellent album, but it's unique. It's different. I think at this point I like her more as a performer than what she's been coming out with musically. But you should check out Fantasia's album when you get a chance. Frank Ocean's album, I wasn't crazy over either. A lot of y'all gassed him up. Y'all had me psyched to go in and check his project out. And when I got it, it was just there. You know, Frank Ocean's latest project is like drinking hot tea, and it's just tea. There's no honey with it. There's no lemon. There's no brown sugar, no nothing, no agave, just tea. And so, and this is, so if you real deep and you are into everything Frank, this might be the project for you. But I mean, for me, I do like a little bit of variety, and I think that his album, there are some okay tracks on there. Godspeed is probably my favorite track off the album. You know, what is it, The Pink and Blue and The Solo were okay tracks. But overall, I didn't really care too much for the album. I still bought it though. It's something you can still kind of check out. But my issue with Frank is that a lot of artists are in this phase where there's no such thing as up-tempos. There's no such thing as fun tracks. And maybe it's because we're just in a gloomy time period in society. Life sucks for a lot of people. So everybody's making these songs that are very reflective, which is nice. But sometimes if it doesn't translate as well on the music, it's a problem. And so I think on this album, the lyrics are great, but the music doesn't always complement the lyrics, and it doesn't carry what he's trying to put out there. So I think he dropped the ball a bit. If you're a Frank Ocean stan, you still love the album. But if you're somebody just listening for the first time, you're like, I guess. And it's, you know, every song is recorded like it's in the hallway with a lot of echo reverb, and there's not a lot of drum kits. Like, there's like 3 songs where there's a drum kit or a beat that drops, and the rest of it is just sounds. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm ready to shake just one shoulder. I just want to move this shoulder a bit, Frank. Just give me one good up-tempo. But, you know, so that's that album. But, you know, it is what it is. A lot of people did like the album, so maybe I'm a hater, but I wasn't crazy over it. But I would still say check it out and see for yourself. King had they did kind of have one of my favorite albums as well too, the We Are King project, and they're this girl group. They're very alternative R&B. My favorite track from that album is Carry On. What I like about their album, because they're very experimental as well, like alternative R&B. You start the album, and before you know it, the album has ended, because all of the songs kind of just flow into each other, and it's one constant like mellow groove. This is a great album to drive to at night. If you're somebody that's you done partied at the club or whatever, you done turned up all night, and now you need to turn down and relax and lower your blood pressure and get all that calm, this is a great project to listen to. It's very appeasing to the ears. It's just ear candy kind of. It's different. It's just very, very, I don't know, I can't think of somebody to compare them to, but it's unique. I like it. It's different. Moving on. Maxwell's project I enjoyed. A lot of his fans didn't like it as much. They were saying, you know, they wanted the whole Fistful of Tears and Bad Habits and This Woman's Work and Lifetime and Fortunate type of tracks. But this one was a lot more up-tempo. And that was fine. I still think his best album was his first one. But the standout tracks that stuck out to me, 1990X, which is also the single, one of the singles, that's probably my favorite song off the album. And I also liked Of All Kinds. I wish he maybe had 3 or 4 more tracks on the album, but I think it's a decent album. I'm going to need him to stop waiting 8, 9 years to come out with albums, and then it'd be 8 tracks and 9 tracks. You know what? Listen, you're not Sade. Only Sade can do that, okay? So, Maxwell, I'm not waiting another 7 years for another project. You got a 3-year cutoff, and then I cut you off. So, I think this was a very nice project, so check it out when you get a chance. Some people didn't like it, though. I liked it, though. Monica Code Red is an album that is a half and half. I'm on the fence with it. It's not a bad album, but it's not necessarily super great either. And I think what worked against her on this project is that Monica has such a strong back catalog from her first 2 albums, actually her first 3 albums of singles, you know, with the Before You Walk Out My Life and the Not the First Night and For You I Will and I Miss You So Much. I mean, Why I Love You So Much and One of the Days and Angel of Mine and The Boy Is Mine. And so she has such strong singles from back in the day. And so when you listen to this new project, there's not a lot on it that I would say complements her past work, but if you would like to compare it to everything she's done since The Makings of Me, this kind of complements it a bit more. I think this is a much better album than New Life. I don't know if it's better than Makings of Me. or The Makings of Me, I enjoyed a little bit more than Still Standing as well, just because there's a few more up-tempo. Still Standing was nice, but it was all ballads. And it didn't have a great shelf life. It's a project that's very 2010. So this new Code Red album I like. I really like the song. It's on the radio now. It's called, I gotta look at my paper. Oh, Alone in Your Head. You ain't. I was like, okay, that was cool. I was real flat on that, but don't judge. That wasn't really trying to say. But there's some okay tracks in there. I like the song Little I Miss Music, and I like some of the other songs on there. The 2 songs that she has with Timberland are pretty great. And so Code Red is not a bad album. It's not a great album. It's an album that's there. But I think it gets the job done. Monica is in a position where they're trying to figure out what to do with her. And it's not just her. There's a lot of people in that same caliber artists where they're trying to figure out their sound. They were popping back in the day. They're still popping. They're still a loyal fan base. But their sound, nobody knows where to go with them because they were R&B artists that fit in a certain bubble. And now that that bubble doesn't exist in today's industry, it's hard to place them musically and make them fit in with what's going on. And because they're getting older, that also works against them. I think Usher falls in that category too. I'll get to him later. Ro James has a nice project as well. I really like the song Gas. I don't know why I like that song a lot, but that's my song. That and Permission is my jam too, but the radio in DC plays it every 20 minutes, so I don't even jam it like that. But he has a great project. Check that out. Solange, excellent album. I usually don't like to review I kind of stopped reviewing albums, within the same week or two that they come out, because I think you just need time to let an album simmer before you really decide on whether you really like it or not. But with the Solange album, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's one of my favorites to come out of this year. Pretty much every track I enjoy. I love the lyrics. I love the different experimentation with the music. I love the subject matter most of all. I just love, there's a lot of standout tracks in there, like the Don't Touch My Hair, Cranes in the Sky, Mad, I forgot the rest of them, but they're all great. They're all great. I love the interludes. It's a wonderful project. I think it's just so unique. And honestly, to be real honest, and this is no diss to anybody, but I think this is the direction that a lot of artists who keep trying to go in these deep phases where they try to come out with these deep albums, I think that's the direction they were trying to go in. I think this is kind of what Frank Ocean was aiming to do, but it didn't really happen. I think there's a few other artists who went that same route. It just didn't quite work. And so, but this is just my perception, because there's some people who might not like this project, but I really enjoy what she did with this album. So I hopefully it sells a little bit more. It was #1, but I think it deserves to sell even more than what it's been selling. Moving on. Oh, Tweet. That's my other favorite. Oh God, I love that album. That was a great album. I forgot what it's called. Is it called Charlene? I think it's called Charlene. Pretty much every track on there I rock with. Tweet is somebody who, what I like about Tweet is Tweet stays true to Tweet. She has her Tweet-ish type songs, because Tweet has a sound. You know what I mean? Like all her songs kind of low-key sound the same, but it's a good sound the same, where she's going to give the same quality to each song. And I love what she does with her vocals. She has a very unique voice where she's able to do certain things, because people don't recognize Tweet can really blow. But she doesn't really blow on the albums. She saves it for the live performances. And on the albums, she does a lot of things where she just really experiments with what she can do with her head voice. And so it translates well in the album. There's some great standout tracks. Like The Hardest Thing is probably my favorite off that album. I Was Created for This is a great track. Priceless is a great track. Never Should Have Left You. The interludes, even the Will You Be Here. It's very, very smooth. And Tweet is such an old soul. Like, I feel like you're sitting on the porch drinking, iced tea, and Uncle Earl's pulling up in the truck, and his little daughter and so are riding in the back, and we're deep down in the country, way back in Brunswick, Georgia somewhere. It's such a great project. If you're not into the whole slow melodic guitar, if you whistle and stuff, you might not like it. If you're trying to turn up, this is not the album to turn up to. But it's an album that it just flows. Like if you're trying to get some work or something done, it just flows before you know what the album's going off. Great project. One of my favorites, definitely. 2088 is not an R&B album. It's more of a collaboration, and this is the project with Big Sean and Jhené Aiko. But I really enjoyed this. This is one of my favorites to really come out of 2016. It's only like 6 or 7 or 8 tracks, I forgot. But pretty much all the tracks are a lot of fun. And I think as far as contemporary, if there was an idea of where I would want contemporary R&B to be going, it's probably this direction as far as what would be played on the radio. The standout tracks, in my opinion, are Selfish and the On the Way. I enjoy both of those. Lots of fun. And y'all know I never really cared for Jhené Aiko, because I always said that she just had a one-dimensional voice. But I think on this project, her voice fits the type of songs that I put out there. And actually, it made me go back and actually listen to her a little bit more. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's not that terrible. So I do like her Spotless Mind and Eternal Sunshine song, Jhené Aiko fans. And I've always liked Big Sean. I like Big Sean he has a unique approach to hip hop that I think is fun, but it's not cheesy or too bubblegum. He's right on the fence sometimes, but I think it's commercial enough, but still hip hop enough where people can appreciate it from both sides. So 2088 is a great project to get into. Subject matter is a little trash on occasion, but still, I think it is very transparent to a lot of relationships and stuff like that. So yeah, great album. I'm almost done here. I'll talk about Chance the Rapper's project. He's not it's not an R&B project, but he does incorporate lots of R&B, lots of gospel, and he blends it with hip hop. And kind of like what I said about John Givez, only difference is Chance the Rapper stuff is a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more pleasing to the ear, where there's a lot more experimentation. There's like house songs, and he's doing a little bit of everything. And then my favorite track, I don't think it's on Coloring Book. It's not on my copy of it, but the Good Ass Intro is the name of the song. I go in on that. It's not on my copy of Coloring Book though, so maybe I got a bootleg version, but I enjoy that track. But other tracks, I like the All Night, and of course, You Don't Want No Problem, which is blowing up on the radio right now. All We Got is a great one. That's a really fun project. I like that he's not afraid to just do what he does. One of the issues I think that's happening in the music industry is the conversation of masculinity, and the fact that a lot of male entertainers are not able to freely be musicians or be artists because they're so afraid of being labeled a certain way if they don't fit a certain image, especially in rap. And I feel like Chance the Rapper doesn't care. So he's going to do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to have some gospel singers on his stuff, he's going to do some gospel singers. If he wants to sing on his stuff, he's going to sing on his stuff. He's experimenting with, all these different sounds, and he's not afraid to use music. And I think with a lot of rappers, you have to not be afraid to let R&B fluctuate within your music, because one, it just helps to enhance the song. So what's working in Chance the Rapper's favor is a lot of people who don't listen to rap, who don't like rap, who are not into a lot of what's out now, they like Chance the Rapper because his stuff is a mix of R&B and hip-hop. Kind of like the 2088 project and the John Givez project. They're all projects where you're getting the best of both worlds. And so Chance the Rapper does a great job of doing that. Some of the Chance the Rapper stands are like, oh, well, this project is too overproduced. I don't like this one. I like old Chance, but okay, fine, whatever. But for me, I really enjoy this project a lot. There's not really any tracks on there that I really skip. The last album I'm going to do and talk about is Usher's project, Hard to Love. Actually, I don't know when I threw this paper down because I need to look at it. Usher's project is, like I said, he falls in that category with Monica. Usher's project is not great and it's not terrible, but there are some gems on it. I'll definitely say one of his best tracks to come out in recent times is Bump. That is my favorite song off that album. I play that crap every 5. He needs to release that to radio right now. Right now. That's a great track. Bump goes in. I enjoy that. That is the perfect epitome of just, that whole Atlanta sound, but it's still current and it's fresh, and then it's still very R&B, it's contemporary R&B. It's a whole lot. I enjoy that track. Another track I like is the F With Me. That's an okay track. There's some other okay songs on there, but there's a lot where I'm like, skip. I think with Usher, he's just trying to figure out what to do with his sound. Crash was a great single as well. It got ignored, but I thought that was a great single. I like that a whole lot more than the No Limit. No Limit I couldn't get with. I'm sorry. And I said that when I did my BET Awards review. I just didn't like that song at all. The video was cool. I just didn't care for the song. But with Usher, he's running into that issue of what to do creatively, because he falls in that same bubble where he came out of an era where there was a certain lane, and now that lane no longer really exists today, he's trying to figure out where he fits in. Because he's old, like, there's something about this industry. When you're older than 34, you're considered 40 already in the music industry. So one, he doesn't appeal to kids, which is why I looked at him crazy when he came out with No Limit, because I was like, the kids aren't paying you any attention, man. But so he doesn't appeal to kids because he's too old, even though, I think he's like 36 or 37, which is not that old, but he's too old for the kids. And he had a bit of creative redundancy with some of his earlier projects from the last 5 years, and so I think a lot of his fan base jumped ship. And they jumped ship when he went EDM, they jumped ship a couple of times. And so he's in this position where it's like, what am I supposed to do creatively? I thought he was going in a great direction when he dropped Good Kisser. That was my favorite track of the summer of, 2014? I got in with Good Kisser, but he never came out with the follow-up project. And he came out with other things like the I Don't Mind, which is him, again, appealing to the younger demographic. Just because you dance on the pole, that don't mean you a hoe. I was like, really, Usher? That's what we doing now? But I think his project is still decent. I think you should still check it out. It's very slept on. I was disappointed that nobody bought it. Like, I'm not saying it's a must-have, but it's definitely, he's still trying. There's some great things on there that you're like, okay, Usher, all right. But those are basically the projects I've been checking out. There's some other really great ones I forgot to mention. I can't wait to see what Lloyd is going to come out with. I really enjoy the song True. That's probably one of my favorite songs on the radio right now. Great track. Alicia comes out this Friday. I would like to see what she's going to be doing with hers. I see she's kind of trying. I think In Common was slept on. That should have been great. I thought it was going to be a huge international hit, especially because it's kind of has that like world music type of sound. But we'll see. I'm praying this rumor is true. I'm praying it's true. But I keep hearing that Destiny's Child might be trying to come back out. I am 100% excited to hear about that. I always wanted them to come out with at least one more project because I never was big on Destiny's Child until Destiny Fulfilled came out. Writings on the Wall is a great album, of course. We love it. We love it. Survivor, I was like, yeah. But Writings on the Wall, I was like, wow, this is a very well put together album for a group of girls that were like 24, 25. So I want to see what they're doing now. That would be a great project. I heard snippets of what TLC is currently doing. The one song I heard that doesn't sound too bad is called Joyride. I don't know if it's getting released here, but I heard that. So yes, they did not scam us with our money. I didn't pay into it, but I'm just saying, those of you who gave $5 to the GoFundMe or whatever, the Kickstarter, you're getting your money soon. Your money's worth. The Joyride song sounds okay. I didn't care for that Haters song or the No Introduction, whatever it is. They can keep that. But you know, there's some people that are trying to come out and do things. So we'll just see where it goes. Anyway, that is this video. I'm actually going to probably do a video every day this week because I noticed that I've been very busy, and so there's weeks and weeks that keep passing in between my videos, so I be feeling bad for people who subscribe, and then they be waiting, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and I don't ever make a video. So I'm going to try to do one every day this week because there's a lot to talk about. There's a whole lot going on. Plus, I have to update you on just some of the things that I've been working on, which kind of pertain to the subject matter in this video. So we'll update you on that later. But anyway, I'm out. Subscribe, share your 2 cents. If there's any albums that you think, oh, you got to talk about this album, just put it in the comment section. If I left out your favorite album, my bad. Once again, I did not diss Lemonade. Lemonade is a great project. Check it out when you get a chance. My favorite tracks from that album are Love Drought and All Night. But I just don't feel like I need to really talk about it because it's like the biggest selling album out right now in R&B. Everybody knows about it. So, yeah. And Rihanna Auntie, if I did have a favorite track from it, it's probably like the Desperado and the Woo and James Joint. It's, you know, they're decent albums, but I chose not to talk about those two because everybody kind of knows about those two. So the focus was on the other ones that people have kind of forgot about. So I'm out. Subscribe, share your 2 cents. Thanks for watching.